So it was another wild weekend at Watkins Glen International for NASCAR. But before we get to that part, we do got to start out west. We had the IndyCar Series at Portland. Unfortunately, I have misplaced the footage. Good for me, so I won't have to worry about copyright for them at least. But Will Power did end up winning the race, finally getting another one on the season, followed by Christian Lundgaard and Alex Palou. And now we will go to the great state of New York. At Watkins Glen International Speedway, and we start off with the ARCA Series this week. Brent Cruz in the 18 car for JGR, still fast as always, puts that thing on pole and quickly runs out into the lead. And the other big story of the year, Butterbean Queen has power issues going up the S's on turn 1, and it sets him back for the entire day. And another championship favorite, Alon Day, also has problems on the first lap, and so that's two of the favorites immediately not out of the race, but their chance of winning is already toasted. And there was a couple single car incidents throughout the day, but for the most part it was a pretty standard road course affair for ARCA. But with only 3 laps to go, Brent Cruz also has electrical problems. So the top 3 essentially fastest guys the entire season are done for the race, and now it is anybody's chance to win. And who's up first? We have a 15-year-old. Yes. Somebody at Spire Motorsports looked at a 15-year-old driver and thought, yes, let's put him in a very fast stock car. Surely everything will go right. And they do. That 77 car for a 1-lap shootout. That's all he has to hold the lead onto for. And Tristan McKee, a 15-year-old, gets his very first career ARCA Series win. Tyler Reif comes in runner position, and Chris Wright takes home third. And despite the problems he had at the beginning of the race, Butterbean does maintain his points lead by 24 points going into next week. And I believe a dirt track. That'll be fun to watch. But later, after the ARCA race, we have the Truck Series. And this is their first time racing Watkins Glen in over 4 years. And who else is on pole but Corey Heim, just continuing his truck dominance. Sits on pole and sets the pace ahead of quite a few Cup Series regulars. A lot of Cup drivers really wanted to turn over SVG this weekend, so several of them are running either trucks or the Xfinity races to try to get a little extra seat time for Sunday. And we'll see how that worked out for them when we get to that. Yeah, but anyway, one of those Cup drivers running in the Truck Series race was Kyle Busch, who had a broken steering box problem. With only a couple laps before the stage ends, continuing the Kyle Busch trend of the last couple years with him in trucks. Great. Not great at all. But stage 1 comes to a close. Corey Heim obviously wins the race. And after many, many incidents throughout the second stage, the 99 car of Ben Rhodes takes stage number 2. It's his first one since Daytona back in February. But stage 3 comes around, and Cup Series regular Christopher Bell is now up front, and he's running the 52 truck for Stuart Friesen this week. Still no return on Stuart at this time. Broken bones take a long time to heal, and unfortunately that won't be the only one we're talking about this weekend. But Bell leads through a flurry of yellows, including a very, very fiery wreck. But on the very first overtime restart, I should say, Corey Heim finally takes the lead back away from him and has to hold off the field through 2 more overtime restarts, including a very heroic charge by Daniel Hemrick in the last corner. But Corey Heim once more takes the W on the season over Daniel Hemrick and Gio Ruggiero in third. And with Friday finally completed, we move on to Saturday's Xfinity Series race. Connor Zilic, so last year at this race, it was his very first Xfinity Series start. Put it on pole, won the race in his very first start, and he's looking to repeat that this weekend. And he starts off well enough, getting the pole for this race, alongside who else but SVG. And these two put on a clinic in the Xfinity Series. This was a very entertaining race to watch, especially between these two. Connor led most of the race today, but SVG did not let him get away, and there was tons of racing throughout the entire field, lots of action to watch. If I ever go to Watkins Glen in person to watch, I definitely want to be there for the Saturday race. We can take naps on Sunday. You'll see why later on. But they continue to battle up front for the lead and do some pit strategy. Lets Justin Allgaier get his 8th stage win of the season, because the rest of them wanted to get ready for the end of this race. And stage 2, it's more of the 88 and the 9 show. They're battling up front, and Connor ends up taking stage 2 with very little effort involved and very few incidents to worry about. That all changes in stage number 3. So stage 3 starts off pretty tamely, and a lucky pit strategy lets SVG sit up front after a really hard wreck, and the pit stops did not go great for the 88 team, and he fell back quite a bit of ways in the field. And now SVG is showing the way, and everyone's like, oh boy, it's going to be the SVG show again. But Connor Zilic, this kid is something else on road courses. He is slicing his way through the field on these restarts. He will pass 3 or 4 cars before they even get to the back straightaway. These are some ballsy maneuvers that I would sometimes see in iRacing. I would not want to do this in real life, but he keeps it clean, keeps it off the wall, and zips his way back up front, and then they finally catches up SVG for the lead. And Connor, he's got a fast car, but he has a hard time getting around Van Gisbergen. And they battle for about 2 entire laps here until coming into turn 7. Connor swings the car a little bit wide off of 6 and tags Gisbergen in the right hand rear and sends him up into the outside wall. A very, very violent hit. The entire car comes completely off the ground here. So that brought an end to SVG's day, which sucks because these two were putting on a great show. But after all that small amount of cleanup, we got a restart with 15 laps to go, and the terrorist is back, everybody. Duck and cover. Austin Hill sends Connor Zilic out of the groove into turn 1 and takes the lead and sends Connor Zilic back a few more spots again. But fortunately for Connor, there's a quick yellow and another restart to make all those spots back up, which he proceeds to do. He powers his way through the leaders and takes the lead away, but with 9 laps to go, the terrorist finally makes his move and cleans out Michael McDowell. Now, this didn't look entirely intentional. He kind of ran out of room, but it causes this massive wreck. In this specific straightaway, the guardrails are incredibly narrow to the racing surface here, and there is nowhere to hide. We've seen some vicious cup wrecks here before, and this one collects over 16 cars, and all the dirt and dust are flying up. You can't even see cleanly through the entire wreck on any of the replay views. And somebody, I believe it was the 91 car, either got hit from behind or hit the guy in front of him so hard that the rear of the car swung up in the air. And seen some of the pictures afterwards, that whoever he landed on completely destroyed the car. Windshield caved in. Fortunately, everybody was okay, but it took 45 minutes under a red flag to clean this mess up. So that was a good time to go eat dinner while you waited for the race to resume. But after that lengthy cleanup, we are back with 4 laps to go. Connor Zilic reasserts his dominance, and nobody else challenges him for the rest of the way. Captures his 6th win of the season over Sam Mayer and Sammy Smith. However, unfortunately, Connor's celebration was cut very short. I don't have any footage to show because it was kind of done off air, and it's mostly held by news agencies at the time. But Connor Zilic was in victory lane and had climbed on top of his race car, you know, doing the woo celebration like he normally does. And I guess the crew, when they sprayed him down, it got the car wet. He slipped off and landed essentially right on his neck and collarbone area right here. And this was the first point of impact, and he ended up breaking his collarbone. And he was slated to run in the cup race on Sunday. They actually pulled that entry out, and he's okay. He's out of the hospital already, but there was no timetable in his return. Fortunately, the Xfinity Series has a break next week, and in a post-race interview, SVG was talking about how he broke a similar bone years ago and raced fairly soon afterwards. So he has some high hopes for Connor to return racing and not have to miss anything. when they return to Daytona, which is not a racetrack I would want to be on with a broken bone, but race cars are a different breed. I should say race car drivers are a different breed. That'd be some interesting stories to tell. You'd be surprised how many injured drivers raced back in the day. It's gruesome. But now that all the excitement from Saturday is finally over, we go to nap time on Sunday. And I'm not really kidding with this. I don't know what to do with these next gen cars. Obviously, I am not an up-to-date NASCAR engineer. I don't know these cars inside and out. But single file racing on a road course is unacceptable. Seriously, aside from SVG just tearing through everybody like sandpaper like he normally does, there was hardly any passing under green. You either pass somebody under pit stops or under restarts after a quick caution, because there was so little of it today. But getting ahead of ourselves here, Ryan Blaney was on the pole, somehow beating SVG out this time, who does sit on the outside, and the 12 takes the lead immediately. And after only a couple of laps, Kyle Larson loses his brakes, and he's pretty much out of contention for the entire race. But not a great day for the Hendrick car right there, and he will be having a teammate join him in the rear before too long. But yeah, the next gen car just continues to show its ugly side here on these road courses. So little passing, and but the next gen car really shows its ugly side here, as there's just so little passing except for after the restarts, and any real changes do come during green flag pit stops, and after a few pit calls to get ahead. Chris Buescher does stay out to win the stage. And the stage 2, to their credit, we do have some fresh faces out front. We've got the RFK cars of Ryan Preece and Buescher. They stay out front to make up the front row, but SVG does make quick work of them and takes lead away very soon after. And after that, it's just more single car spins and Rex peppering the stage, and Ryan Blaney brings it back finally to capture the green checker flag for the end of stage 2, and we're setting up for the final stage of the day. Stage number 3, we start with Ryan Blaney holding his lead over William Byron. It's the first time he's been up front most of the day, but as per the normal throughout the day, the field quickly gets single file and it pretty much stays that way. The lone exception, of course, being Shane Van Gisbergen, who works his way through the field and does take the lead back away from Ryan Blaney with 36 laps to go. And it's just the SVG show the rest of the way. Shane Van Gisbergen gets his 4th win of the season over Christopher Bell and Chris Buescher. And honestly, it's a pretty cool affair for him. He does this pretty sick burnout where he actually holds his hand out the window and high-fives his pit crew while he's burning it down alongside the pit wall. So pretty cool maneuver out of him. Obviously kicks the rugby ball up into the football stands. And even his pet dog actually made a trip to victory lane here. That was pretty fun to watch. But that is all the action from Watkins Glen. I know it's not a ton of it, especially on the Cup Series side, but it's just going further to show that the good racing seems to be the non-pro series. Who'd have guessed it? But that is it for this week. Next weekend is going to be a pretty short affair. The NASCAR series, it's only the trucks, and the Cup Series, they are night racing at Richmond. Trucks will be Friday night, Cup Series will be Saturday night racing, first time they've done that in a few years, and the ARCA Series will be racing Sunday at Illinois State Fairgrounds. And that's it, just those 3 races next weekend. It'll be a lot shorter than this, so the breakdown will be a lot shorter too. But until next time, y'all have a great rest of your week, and I'll catch y'all later in the shorts.